So Matheus Cunha is on the verge of being signed for £62 million. United should be able to get £40 million for Rashford, 35 for Antony, at least 20 for Sancho, 15 for Casemiro if he goes to Saudi Arabia, and £10 million for Toby Collier, which alongside getting Eriksen, Lindelof and Johnny Evans off the wage books, alongside moving on the likes of Malacia for minimal fees as well, should enable United to raise around £125 million fairly early on in the transfer window, simply through selling players who already look likely to leave. Højlund's value has tanked due to his form in the second half of the season. We really should have just tried to sell him in January, we would have got a higher fee. Now we're looking at around £30 million at most, I'd say, potentially with some add-ons and even a sell-on clause as well. Factor in any money coming in from Alvaro Fernandez if he moves to Real Madrid, which with his release clause standing at £42 million, means that at most he's going for 42, probably at least he's going for about 35, which should give United around an extra 17 to 20 million pounds, as well as maybe 20 to 30 million if Mason Greenwood leaves Marseille for a significant fee as well. And so realistically, United should be bringing in between 150 to 200 million pounds in player sales, and that's while keeping Bruno Fernandes and not even including the potential sales of Garnacho, Dalot and maybe others as well. And so because United should be able to spend at least £50 million net this summer, that should give us a budget of between £225 to £250 million to spend. And so the question is, how would I go about spending it? But before I go any further, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. They've got a variety of different currencies and retro jerseys, including this 2006-2007 white Manchester United away shirt with Ronaldo 7 on the back, which they did actually send me, as well as this Juventus Zidane shirt from the 90s as well, which are two jerseys that I have been wanting for quite a while, but were incredibly hard to find. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. So Matheus Cunha is a deal I wanted, and it does look like he will be arriving. Because I am writing this before the Europa League final and Arsenal do look favourites for Gyökeres, I'm going to rule him out alongside Adam Wharton, who may now have a price tag closer to around £80 million now that Palace have secured European football for next season after winning the FA Cup. Left wing back, central midfield, right-sided interior forward and also centre forward are the key positions that United need to be strengthening. Despite the disappointment of missing out on Alvaro Fernandez, with the sell-on clause bringing money in, and Liverpool looking likely to bring in Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth, this opens up the opportunity for United to go and get Theo Hernandez, who with 1 year left on his Milan contract, could cost as little as £25 million. Now while some people may say he's too old, 27, 28 in October, it's just not too old at all, especially considering the price. Maybe if he was going to cost upwards of 35, 40 million pounds, then I could maybe understand it, but 28 to 32 is usually a player's peak, and so we've got the opportunity to sign one of the, if not the best offensive left backs of the past 5 years, who really is better suited to a wing back role as he'll have greater attacking freedom and more security behind him. And he's also someone who's going to come in at the elite level, at his peak, providing the same sort of output in terms of explosive ball carrying, dribbling, chance creating and goal scoring output in the final third that you would usually expect from a wide attacker playing at wing back rather than a fullback. And this is all whilst costing you around what you paid for Dorgu back in January. Theo at 28 should have at least another 4 or 5 years left at the top level, maybe even longer, and so to me this deal just seems like a no-brainer, especially with the money coming from Alvaro Fernandez's sell-on clause paying for the majority of the fee. Ederson as well is another. Atalanta are reportedly demanding £63 million, but I just can't see United or any other interested club going as high as £60 million. United have reportedly already offered £42 million, which was rejected, but I think if you could get him for around £50 million, maybe up to about 52, which I can see Atalanta coming down to, then he would be the sort of signing that could come in and stabilise United's midfield. If it goes closer to 60 million, then we may have to look at other options, but I'll cover those in another video. Maxi Oyedele I think is a no-brainer for squad depth, with Eriksen leaving and Collier being sold. The buyback is 15 million, but there's a sell-on clause of 50% which is also included, which would take the total fee to just £7.5 million. And then you've got Ederson and either Mainu or Bruno Fernandes as the starters, potentially Ugarte coming in alongside Ederson when United need greater pressing intensity and defensive capabilities in the midfield for certain games. Oyedele is there as another industrious ball winner for depth, and then you've also got the likes of Sekou Kone, Tyler Fletcher, Jim Thwaites and others who can come in when needed and should be given significant minutes throughout the course of next season. In the forward line, you've already got Cunha, Cherki's got 1 year left on his Lyon contract, and so considering he cost around £20 million, it also seems like a deal that is too good to pass up, which would then take us to between £165 to £170 million spent on 4 key signings and a depth signing in Oyedele, leaving only the centre forward position to fill. I've said many times Gyökeres would be the ideal signing. There's now reports that Gyökeres' asking price has dropped slightly to around £55 million, but even if it was £60 million and United were able to get this deal done, I do think it's a deal worth doing, with Gyökeres being perfectly suited to that centre forward role in Amorim's system and being one of the few centre forwards on the market who I would consider elite. However, with Arsenal interested and any potential deal hinging on winning the Europa League, for now I'm going to assume that he's not attainable, which raises the question of how United should spend the £55 to £65 million that was allocated towards his signing. And for me, unless it's Victor Osimhen, whose £18 million salary demands £5 million a season more than Gyökeres, seems to have ruled him out of any move apart from Saudi Arabia, I think you've got to use that money to sign 2 centre forwards rather than 1. I think signing Liam Delap for his £30 million release clause and Alexander Sorloth for around £30 to £35 million could actually work out to be a deal as good as just signing Gyökeres on his own, and that's because whilst neither Delap or Sorloth individually tick all the boxes that Gyökeres would, I think as a duo, considering they'd likely cost around £60 to £65 million and both be on around £7.5 to £8 million a season, only slightly more than what Gyökeres would cost in terms of salary package and transfer fee on his own, I think it actually works out to be a pretty good alternative deal to do. Delap stylistically is very similar to Gyökeres, being a physical presence, someone who can be used as a target man for direct vertical passes, looking to play out of pressure from the build-up phase, and also specialises when it comes to driving the ball forward at pace, using his powerful ball carrying when receiving the ball centrally, or when spinning into the channels and isolating a defender in a 1v1. He obviously isn't as shrewd or clinical in and around the box as Gyökeres, but he is 4 years younger, only 22, having played just 1 full season in the Premier League, where he scored 12 goals, 0.35 non-penalty goals per 90, ranking in the 46th percentile, which is pretty impressive, considering he was playing for a side that got relegated, and he has shown at Ipswich this season that whilst he isn't elite, he is capable of creating his own shooting opportunities with the ball at his feet around the box, showcasing a similar type of ability to manipulate the ball and work around players in order to get into shooting positions, which Gyökeres specialises in. And so whilst he isn't at the Swedes level at the moment, I definitely think from the eye test you can see that with a steady and gradual improvement in his finishing, movement and offensive instincts inside of the box, over the next few years, he definitely has the potential to be a top level centre forward, because unlike Højlund for example, the rest of Delap's game is actually pretty good, and his skill set as a whole is a lot more complete than other centre forwards his age. However, coming in as the starting centre forward for United next season is probably maybe a season or two too early for Delap at the moment. And so that's why I'd also look to bring in Alexander Sorloth. I mean, if you ignore the fact he's 29, 30 at the end of the year, and just for the moment imagine he was 25 or 26, I think he would be the standout alternative to Gyökeres and probably would cost in excess of £60 million. And in terms of current ability, I wouldn't even say that he's a significant downgrade either. Now, Sorloth may not have been consistently at this level throughout his early to mid-20s, having majorly inconsistent campaigns from one season to the next, but after reaching his late 20s at Villarreal last season and Atletico Madrid this season, I think Sorloth is one of the most underrated centre forwards in Europe, and as I said in the Delap Alternatives video, which I will leave linked in the eye above, a lot of elite level strikers do tend to develop significantly as they reach their late 20s, with players like Robin van Persie and even Didier Drogba being perfect examples of this. Now, output wise per 90 minutes, Sorloth's non-penalty goals and non-penalty XG have been absolutely ridiculous over the past 365 days, also putting up impressive total goal scoring numbers as well. But like Gyökeres, he also has a very complete skill set. He isn't as prolific a ball carrier or dribbler, but for someone who is 6'5" and built like a tank, he isn't exactly clunky and is pretty efficient technically. And the eye test as well as his ball carrying and dribbling metrics do show that he's a pretty reliable progressor of the ball. And when it comes to physical and aerial dominance, Sorloth is probably actually better than Gyökeres, maybe even on the same level as Osimhen, able to be used as a target man in the build-up phase, receiving long and direct passes into his chest, feet or head, whilst also being a significant aerial threat from both open play crossing situations and also set pieces as well. If signed, he would come in at the level that United need for a centre forward in terms of current ability, and whilst he is approaching 30, I think he could not only stay at this level into his mid-30s, but potentially also get better as well, just as we've seen with players like Harry Kane, Robert Lewandowski and Karim Benzema. And then you've also got a 22-year-old Delap who can play as the understudy, not having the pressure of being the starting centre forward, and so given time to develop, still being a useful player to use in certain situations, before eventually being Sorlof's successor within the next 2 to 4 years. And so overall, I think these signings provide United not just with a very good starting 11, but also with quality off the bench and strength in depth as well. You've got Andre Onana in goal, Euro left-sided centre-back whilst Martinez is out, De Ligt central and Mazraoui to the right, Amad and Teo as two offensively minded wing-backs with the attacking output of wide attackers in the final third. Ugarte and Ederson creates a midfield double pivot with a high level of physicality, aggression, speed and defensive industry, providing a solid base of security behind the wing-backs when they get forward, protecting the space in the channels as well as in front of the back three. And stylistically, from a pressing point of view, I think it works pretty well. Ederson sits off as the covering player and Ugarte being used as more of a front foot pressing weapon, pushing up high and looking to win the ball back with his aggressive tackling. Ahead you've then got Bruno Fernandes who can start from the right side of the front three, but being given the freedom to roam into central and deeper areas, playing as the side's main playmaker, with Cunha on the left playing more as a second striker, looking to make darting runs ahead into goal scoring positions, but also someone who has the ball carrying ability to transition the attack quickly after a turnover, or during an artificial counter-attack when United play out of the build-up phase and look to exploit the space in the middle third. And then you've got Alexander Sorloth, who is the clinical goal scoring, athletic, physically and aerially dominant centre forward, also with the ability to run in behind, that is going to be crucial to Amorim's possession system. And then on the bench you've got an exceptional creative weapon in Rayan Cherki, who can be brought on if United are chasing the game and need a goal, maybe withdrawing Ugarte and dropping Bruno deeper. Garnacho and Delap could be great options when opposition teams are chasing a goal, pushing players forward whilst United are content with sitting deeper, leaving a greater amount of space for Delap and Garnacho to exploit with their pace and running in behind. And then you've got Xerxes, who can be used as a link man in deeper areas, playing more of a false 9 role, dropping off into the space behind the midfield line looking to receive vertical passes into his feet, before using 1 and 2 touch layoffs in order to bring others into play. You've also got Kobbie Mainoo and Mason Mount if he's ever fit, who provide significant strength in depth, as well as being players with skill sets who could allow Amorim to change up his system if he needs to. And then you've also got players like Oyedele, Dalot, Shaw if he's ever fit, Dorgu, Maguire, and also youngsters like Aidan Heaven, Kokonki, Harry Amas, Diego Leon, Mantato, Sekou Kone, Chido Obi Martin, Jim Thwaites and the Fletcher twins, who can either go out on loan or play squad roles as well. And so overall, I think this is a squad with the type of individual quality in the starting 11, quality in depth, as well as many different options, providing Ruben Amorim with stylistic and tactical versatility. Those 7 signings would be the foundation of my transfer window. Hopefully United could get it done before August. And then in August you can add on top of these foundations by essentially looking at trade deals, maybe selling backup options like Dalot or Xerxes, depending on who else is available and what sort of prices you can get for those players, potentially allowing you to sell, reinvest the money and upgrade the squad as a whole. I do still have some questions around those two as well as De Ligt and Onana, but I'll break down what exactly those questions are in a future video. So let me know how you'd rate my transfer window out of 10, and if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. You can use code ATLANTIS at checkout for a 10% discount. I'll leave it linked in the description and comment section below, and if you want to sign up to my Patreon to get access to any of my articles or the Instagram group chat, you can get a 7-day free trial, so I'll leave it linked on the end screen now as well.